Good evening and welcome to the annual meeting of Melton Borough Council. And a particular welcome to the dignitaries, guests, families and friends of the incoming mayor. Evacuation procedure. In the event of having to evacuate the chambers, please leave by one of the 6 emergency exits. And I have to say, I always want to do this when I'm saying that. Assembly at the far side of the front car park nearest to the park entrance. Officers will be on hand to assist persons who require any assistance. Public recording of the meeting. It is legislation that allows the public to film, record, or use social media at council meeting. This must not disrupt the good order of the meeting, nor include any filming or recording of the public seating area. Please switch all mobile phones to silent. Microphones. Councillors and officers are reminded to use the microphones when speaking for the benefit of all present. The voting arrangements for tonight will be by using a combination of manual voting and electronic voting, depending on the item being considered at the time. For any votes conducted electronically, we'll be using the microphone handset, which uses for the use taking place. We'll give you 3 options: yes, abstain, and no. And there will be 3 buttons flashing beneath the option. When the voting is open, please select the corresponding button in order to register your vote. The process for any manual votes will be explained further on at the time. Format of the meeting. There will be a 30-minute adjustment after the ceremonial aspect of meetings to allow the incoming mayor to entertain their guests and for refreshments before continuing with the rest of the meeting. Before I hand over to Dr. Mary Barr for prayers, I would like to give a sincere thanks to Reverend Dr. Mary Barr of St. Mary's Church and her team for the support on numerous occasions throughout the year, including my civic service, remembrance service, the Christmas Carol service, leading in prayers at the full council and being my spiritual guide throughout this year. And as a thank you, I will now pass on to Dr. Mary Barr for prayers.
Good evening and thank you. I shall take those over to the big building across the car park where I have to go for an annual church meeting immediately following leading the prayers here. So let's pray. Lord God, as we gather here for this annual meeting of Melton Borough Council, we give thanks for all that has been good in the past year, and for the dedicated service of Councillor Ziggy Atherton and those who have assisted her in her time as mayor, including any councillors who have now finished their period of service. And we pray for the person who will be elected into a new role as mayor of the Borough of Melton, and for all those elected to serve as councillors for the coming year, and for council staff supporting them in this locality. We pray that all may exercise wisely and faithfully the responsibilities entrusted to them in these difficult times. We ask you to bless the life of the town of Melton Mowbray and the surrounding villages. And we pray too for our nation in these challenging times, and for peace in those parts of the world where violent conflict continues to cause so much suffering. We pray for strength and wisdom for all, locally, nationally and globally, who work to promote the welfare of all people. This we pray in the name of your Son, Jesus Christ. Amen.
Thank you very much. Item number 1, apologies for absence. No apologies of absence have been received, so I can confer that we have 28 members present. Item number 2, minutes. To confirm the minutes of the council meeting held on the 26th of March and the meeting of the extraordinary council meeting held on the 21st of March 26. Do I have a proposer?
Yes, Madam Mayor, happy to move the minutes proposal.
Do I have a seconder?
Second them, thank you.
Do any members of the have any comments to make in relation with the accuracy of the minutes? Councillor Gordon.
Comment was made in respect to the use of the term hate crime. I just wanted to make it clear that I wanted the word hate taken off the word hate crime, leaving only the word crime left in. Just wanted to make that clear. Thank you.
So noted. Thank you.
Thank you.
I can confirm no other person wishes to speak. In that case, we proceed to the vote. Please use the electronic voting system in front of you. Choose either for, against, or abstain.
How would you like to vote?
So,
27 in favour, abstention.
so 27 in favour, 1 abstention. That 26-4.
26-4.
Sorry, it's 26-4. Declaration of interest. If any member would like to indicate that they have an interest to declare, would they please do so by raising their hand? On another registrable interest in respect of Councillor Joe Olsen, it's taken on being on record for any matters relating to Leicestershire County Council. Okay. Item number 4, my announcement. Yes, fellow councillor, ladies and gentlemen, this past year has gone incredibly quick. And while I do feel a sense of sadness that it's coming to an end, I'm looking forward to a well-earned rest, maybe. We have found this year to be a hugely rewarding experience, and we are extremely grateful for the opportunity it has given to meet so many interesting people, to visit such a wide variety of places. The memories we have made will stay with us for a very long time to come. I've thoroughly enjoyed it. I learned a great deal from meeting other civic heads across Leicestershire and the neighbouring district, but I learned far more from the people in our borough, the community, the volunteers, and all other organisations that I've met. I've learned very much that volunteers keep our town going. I would like to express my sincere thanks to the people, organisation and businesses in Melton Borough who continue to support and warmly welcome the role of Mayor in our community. Every invitation extended to the Mayor is important. It represents a thoughtful gesture and a valued connection to the work we do. I would like to highlight just a few how impressed I was with the volunteer groups across the community. They are often a quiet force behind the scene that nobody really notices, but they are actually the backbone of our community. And they bring such a positive change, and we owe them a great deal of thanks. Many thanks and appreciation go to the Royal Air Force Cadet of 1279, Melton Mowbray Squadron, for their support, assistance at the Armed Forces event during the year. So thank you very much. Really appreciate it. Now, I would like to ask Lisa Higgins to come forward, please. I would like to give her the next one. I would like to give a very special mention to a very good friend of mine, Lisa Higgs. She has been a constant source of support throughout the year, especially when the Gulf interfered with Ian's role as consul. Lisa stepped happily in and really did a fantastic job. And I'm incredible thank you for all the help she gave me throughout this year. Thank you very much, Lisa. Thank you. I would also like to thank councillors for all their support throughout this year. In addition, I must extend my appreciation to the officers and staff of this council in their invaluable help, guidance, professionalism, not at least in managing the many demands of the mayoral diary and events. And for that, I really have to thank Helen, who's sitting at the back. And I would like to give a big thank you to her. If she would like to come forward, please. Without her help and making sure everything runs smoothly in the mayoral role, most of the mayors would have been lost. I think Tim felt the same last year, and I feel the same this year. She really, really has made this year much more balanced for me. So thank you very much, Helen. I would like to wish the incoming Mayor, Councillor Jim Adcock, and his wife, Kate Adcock, a truly enjoyable and rewarding year ahead. I would also like to give him my thanks for the support over the last 12 months. Thank you very much. Now, Helen has written a lovely sobby note for me to read out about my husband, which I'm going to change because it ain't quite me. So I do like to thank my husband for his support and helping me and being there when it didn't interfere with his golf. He has been very patient, sometimes following me and just holding my hand back while I was doing other things. And I really do appreciate that he has done it. And he has given up quite a lot of time where it was on the borderline. Was it going to be supporting as consul? Would it be golf? But thank you very much, Ian, for standing with me and helping me. And finally, I'd just like to thank everybody for the help I had from you all this year as mayor. Thank you very much. Right, now that's out of the way. We go to the important bit, electing a new mayor. We will now elect the mayor for the period of the annual meeting 27. Do I have any nominees? Councillor Cox.
I would like to propose Councillor Jim Adcock for the role. Are we allowed to
Yeah,
speak
of course.
this time? Good, lovely, thank you. I'm very happy to be able to propose Jim for the important role of first citizen in our community. Jim has not always lived in Melton, although the family name originates from this area. Something I only recently became aware of was that Jim was a long-standing member of the Territorial Army, and I have always noted his support of our armed forces. This is especially important to us here in the Borough of Melton, with our close connection to those who serve our country. Jim has worked across the country from Birmingham, London and Nottingham, and spent most of his career as a defence solicitor. So it is quite an irony that I, as an ex-police officer, am doing the proposal. The two professions are traditional sparring partners. although both professions seek to get to the truth of the matter. Jim raised his family near Nottingham, but has finally returned to the family's ancestral roots of Melton Mowbray. I'm happy to propose Jim because I feel he brings the steady, calm approach that we need for the challenges and difficult decisions we face in the upcoming year. There's one other person I would also like to thank before I finish, and that is Jim's wife, Kate. The role of mayor is a demanding one, and she will also be stepping into the spotlight. I cannot think of a better couple to do this on the borough's behalf, and I thank you both for committing the time to this role. Thank you.
Thank you. Do I have a seconder?
Thank you. I'll keep this brief because I'm not feeling 100% at the moment, as Jim knows. I fully endorse Councillor Jim Adcock as Mayor of this municipal year, and I'm therefore honoured to be able to second his nomination. Jim is an extremely dedicated member of this council. He will be a huge advocate for Melton Borough during his term as Mayor. I wish him every success and look forward to attending some of his events to raise money for his charities. Thank you.
Thank you. Are there any other nominees? No, in this case, we will proceed to the vote. Please use the electronic voting system in front of you to choose either for, against, or abstain. That's 28. 4. I confirm that Councillor Jim Adcock is the Mayor of Melton Borough of Melton until the annual meeting of 27. We will now proceed to investiture of the Mayor and Mayoress.
Councillor Jim Adcock will now read and sign the Declaration of Acceptance of Office.
I, Councillor Jim Adcock, having been elected to the office of Mayor of Melton Borough Council, declare that I take that office upon myself and will duly and faithfully fulfil the duties of it according to the best of my judgment and ability.
Thank you. As the incoming Mayor, Councillor Jim Adcock will now present Councillor Siggy Atherton with a specially commissioned Past Mayor's Medallion, which former mayors are entitled to wear at Melton Borough civic events. Ladies and gentlemen, our new Mayor.
Thank you. Well, distinguished guests, fellow councillors, ladies and gentlemen. Firstly, may I thank my fellow councillors and my proposer, Councillor Sarah Cox, and my seconder, Councillor Margaret Glancy, for their support and for the trust that they have placed in me by my election. I should also like to thank Councillor Ziggy Atherton and her husband, Councillor Ian Atherton, for the way they've performed their duties as mayor and consort over the last year. My wife, Kate, and I have been privileged to serve as your deputy mayor and deputy mayoress, and for the support, the training and assistance you've given to us. So thank you all. Now, I'd also like at this stage to ask if we could receive a vote of thanks for the retiring mayor and consort. So do I have a proposer?
Yeah, happy to propose.
No, I don't think that's a procedural irregularity you need to worry about. Okay. Okay. Now, at this stage, I should say that I have, of course, chosen a charity for the coming year. Now, my chosen charity is the Air Ambulance Service, which is a very popular and worthy charity. Unfortunately, the representative from the Air Ambulance Service isn't able to join us this evening because of the family emergency. But I would like to take the opportunity of commending the organisation and asking you to support them over the coming year and to help them with the fundraising and financially and indeed generally. They're well known locally. They're recognised for their contribution to the community, very well thought of, and I know that they would appreciate your support very much. Okay. I should also say my wife and I are honoured to have the opportunity to promote all that is best within the borough and everything it has to offer, and we will wear our chains with great pride. So thank you again for my election. Now, at this stage, fairly obviously perhaps, we move on to deal with the election of a deputy mayor for the municipal year 26-27. Do we have any nominations? Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I've got great pleasure in standing to nominate Councillor Helen Cliff for the position of Deputy Mayor for 2025-26, 2026-27. It's been a long week. I've known and worked with Helen for a number of years, you know, partly in a political capacity, partly since we've both been councillors, and I've learnt to form a huge respect for her, which I think is mutual. Yeah, I'm getting a nod. Helen's been prominent in campaigning on behalf of the local community on a range of issues. Most prominently, and I'm sure most people are aware of this, the campaign to save St Mary's Birth Centre, and there may be mention of some others by the seconder. She's always demonstrated the ability and commitment to work with people across the political spectrum, or for that matter, people of no politics, to achieve consensus for the common good. And dare I say it, Helen, that at times I've found you irritably reasonable and irritably willing to hear other people's points of view. But in fact, that's been a great strength, and I think it helps us make good decisions and to act in the best interests of the people we're here to represent. And I can't think of a better people to take. I am jumbling my words tonight, Mr. Mayor. I do apologise. A better person with the better qualities to take on the role of deputy mayor and hopefully in due course that of mayor. Thank you.
I should say I should have given the opportunity to Councillor Holmes to say a few words to recognise the contribution of the mayor. I apologise for that. I'd mentioned the proposal and seconded, but I should have given you the opportunity to say a few words. What I would propose to do perhaps is at this stage we have an option. I think the simplest way perhaps is for you to say that now, and then.
Wouldn't it be better to finish the deputy mayor
Okay.
first? Yeah.
Okay, thank you. Okay, well, do we have a second for the deputy mayor?
Yes, I'm happy to second Councillor Cliff's nomination as deputy mayor. I haven't known sort of Helen for a great deal of time, but I found her to be quite steadfast in things that she sort of does for the council. Councillor Cliff has a background in youth work and is extremely passionate about ensuring the voices of young people are heard in places like this council where decisions are made that could impact their lives. She's done an awful lot more than that, but as I said before, I'm not feeling too good, so I'd like to sit down again. As two individual groups, we're keen to work together as one, and therefore I'm very happy to second the motion. Thank you.
Are there any other nominations? Okay, well, we'll now proceed to a vote. So please use the electronic voting system in front of you and choose either for, against, or abstain. Abstain. Yeah. So the outcome is there have been 27 votes for and 1 abstention. So Councillor Helen Cliff is the deputy mayor for the period until the annual meeting in 2027. So we will now proceed to the investiture of the deputy mayor and the deputy mayor's consort.
Councillor Helen Cliff will now read and sign the Declaration of Acceptance of Office.
I, Councillor Helen Cliff, having been elected to the office of Deputy Mayor of Melton Borough Council, declare that I take that office upon myself and will duly and faithfully fulfil the duties of it according to the best of my judgment and ability.
Ladies and gentlemen, our new deputy mayor and consort.
At this stage, if I invite the new Deputy Mayor to do the vote of thanks.
I do feel very thankful and privileged that my colleagues here have voted for me to take up this role of Deputy Mayor, although I am aware that it might rather look like the Sizemby Ward councillors are involved in some really niche relay event. I promise you that's not been by design, but I am, however, incredibly grateful to be receiving the baton from my ward colleague councillor Adcock for this role, who in turn has received the baton from our other ward colleague, Councillor Atherton, for the role of Mayor. It's my absolute honour to be doing all I can to support him in his role as Mayor over the upcoming year, as I continue to support my colleagues across the Chamber and, of course, our residents across the borough. So thank you.
Councillor Holmes.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I think I'm the first one to say Mr. Mayor, aren't I? Anyway, yeah, you can't keep me down, can you really? I have the greatest pleasure and privilege to just say a few words about our outgoing mayor. I haven't known Ziggy for all that long, but she quite simply has been an exception. She's visited all the schools in the borough. Her passion for young people and people in general is amazing. And at the storehouse, she does such a fantastic job helping underprivileged people and people in great need. I've written all this down, you know, and I'm a bit like a doctor. I can't read my own writing. For instance, there are times when I have seen Ziggy for Beaver and Melton Fat Stock event at Christmas. She stayed all day. Then she danced all night. Then when there was an ad hoc time when I asked her if she would mind if Melton Young Farmers came to the council chamber, she said straight away, if there's nothing on, we will. And we did. And I think several people remarked who was sitting at the back of the room, it probably, the debate that took place with young people was probably sometimes better than takes place here with us. But anyway, there we are. She then, one of the last three things, she went to the Young Farmers Rally. And I don't know how long you stayed. I only stayed a little while because I had red on my face, so I had to leave. I just feel that everything she has done with kindness and the ability to talk to people. So many people have said to me, oh, isn't she nice? We had a word with her at such and such an event. And that's just what she did. She has been quite special. She has raised over £6,000, which these days is very, very difficult to do. And I think we all appreciated, and we do appreciate what she's done, all of us. Thank you.
Thank you. Now, there will now be an adjournment to this meeting for 30 minutes, where you're invited to celebrate this mayor meeting evening by joining my wife and I for a buffet and soft drinks in the Fernley room. Towards the end of the adjournment, you will be invited to return to your seats so that we can continue with the rest of the meeting. Okay. Thank you.
administration has been administered smoothly. Briefings, information, response to our policy change requests have been handled very professionally. So thank you, everyone. Thirdly, as leader, it is my role to update the Council in relation to a review of the past year. There have been many positives, and I would like to thank the previous administration, albeit we will be taking a slightly different approach. Delivering for our communities. We continue to deliver strong performance against a corporate strategy and long-term vision 36, with the majority of our priority measures on track. Invested in healthier, more active communities, and following our 2 million investment into our leisure centres, have seen significant increase in participation and our expanded community programmes. Proactive and robust action taken in partnership with the police, which is targeted and disrupted drug dealing and county lines activity, safeguarding our communities. Supporting residents with housing and cost pressures. We delivered improvements in housing services, included reduced rent arrears and increased opportunities for tenant engagement. We also completed a comprehensive review of intensive housing management services to better support vulnerable residents and promote independence, with more to follow through the older persons housing review. We procured a new tenant-focused repairs and maintenance services designed directly from resident feedback. And we strengthened accountability and tenant voice through our Landlord Assurance Board, and we were pushing to secure the top regulatory grade. And I think I'd have to say there that has been one positive cross-party working, is the work that's happened there, and that was reassuring what we heard from everybody that was speaking at the Landlord Assurance Board last week. Driving regeneration and growing the local economy. We procured a construction partner for the stockyard and moving from the planning to delivery with lots of commercial interest and a growing food and drink network. And over the last couple of weeks, I've been meeting various businesses and in relation to how we're going to progress all of that. Adopted a new town centre design guide and developed a cultural and heritage strategy. We launched our new inward investment strategy and are working proactively with businesses and partners to attract new investment following the St. Coban announcement, which again, I'll be meeting them in the coming weeks. And it was also great to see more success more recently with new investments at Pera and the recent Hortons Toyota investment. Planning for the future of the borough. The council submitted the local plan parcel update, a key milestone in shaping sustainable growth and future development. We delivered and supported important infrastructure projects with the opening of the Relief Road, now called Pork Pie Way, just last week, which has gone down different ways with people, but I'll leave that to the public who made the decision. Working with Rutland, we also launched a new demand response transport service, improving rural connectivity for residents. Financial stewardship and organisational effectiveness. Despite the extremely challenging finance settlement, we maintained a focus on value for money and financial sustainability with positive external assurance on our arrangements. And I think that's positive probably in this council for the last 20 odd years. It's been one of the success stories for Melton Borough Council. Procured a new asset management contractor and work has started on a significant programme of investment, which you'll have seen a press release on last week. And we work with councils across the Leicester, Leicestershire and Rutland and local government reform, submitted a joint bid and made preparations for the upcoming transition. And we will soon find out in July what that means. And again, I'll talk a little bit later on about how hopefully we can all work together on that. Earlier this month, I announced a new cabinet with each area focused on key priorities for this administration. And again, I'll refer you to the paper on the table. But I want to go through some actions that we've implemented and we've instructed officers to do with immediate effect. We ordered a new Country Park Bridge, which will be installed within the next 2 weeks. And I know the previous administration put that forward. The order is now in and it will be put in place by the end of July. We instructed the process to install new car park machines, which will offer motorists the option to pay by cash, contactless and app. So we'll have all three of those. And again, the legal process has been instructed and the procurement progress has been instructed with immediate effect. Instructed officers to undertake an environmental audit of the town centre, which will now see the repair and painting of street furniture that is owned by Melton Borough Council, and officers have been liaising with businesses to also clean private areas of property they own and rent. There is now a fully agreed planting programme as well, and I'll be going through with officers tomorrow to sign off all that work. Instructed an operational review of the Planning and Enforcement Service, which will see an investment report presented to Cabinet, as we are committed to getting the planning service fit for purpose and given the resources required. And that will be a significant investment on top of the planning productivity review that we've asked for, because we don't believe there is enough investment in the planning service. A robust economic development strategy will be written that links all economic and planning policy to move us forward in relation to the delivery of new business and jobs. And with the announcement of the new road this week, that is ever more important. Also, I instructed through the officers to get the repairs to the wall memorial in Melton Mowbray completed and a full survey undertaken, and that'll be brought back at the next meeting. I'll let you know how we're getting on with that. Next, we instructed Legal and Property Services to work in relation to the GP surgery car park in Bottisford, and I expect that to be completed as soon as is legally possible. We agreed that all working groups, including local government reorganisation, should be politically balanced. I made that commitment at the extraordinary meeting, and I'm going to keep to that. And I have reached out to opposition leaders and unaligned as well in relation to those commitments, etc. And as per full council and as per conversations I've had with the chair of scrutiny, we have left the opposition to adopt and appoint the scrutiny committee, keeping our word again around inclusion. Meetings have or are taking place with organisations with the intent that we have an even greater collaborative working relationship, which include the ICB, Loughborough College, the Town Estate, and major businesses locally. We've also engaged with Leicester County Council on SEND, children's homes, which I'll be bringing back an update on that data to a future meeting. And I had a conversation with the Chief Executive and the leader of Leicester County Council only last week. And we will be bringing back our vision, along with the County Council, on the southern urban extension and potential expansion of GP services, not a new GP surgery, GP services. And we're in, I am in discussions with the County Council in relation to that already. And we will bring back our direction of travel very, very shortly. As I stated earlier in the month, we do want to work collaboratively, and therefore we will be reinstating bi-monthly briefings to ensure all councillors are updated by cabinet leads on significant decisions and projects where necessary. I look forward to working with everybody and hope everybody reciprocates over the next year, and we all should want to ensure that Melton Borough Council as a whole is handed over to a new council in the best shape possible. So thank you, everyone.
And thank you. There's no vote required. There won't be a debate on that matter, but thank you very much. So if we move on now to political balance and the allocation of seats to political groups, I'll now invite the monitoring officer to present the report setting out the council's political balance and allocation of seats to political groups.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'm sure that members will be familiar with the various formal steps we have to take each year at annual council, and this year is no different. The papers for this matter start on page 27 of the documents before you. So we have a sequential approach that we have to take in relation to these matters. The first one is that we formally appoint committees for the forthcoming year. There's no changes here this year proposed. It's the same committees structure we have overall. So we're not introducing any new bodies of any description. So that's the first step. It's formally appointing those. We then have to go through the steps that are required by law in relation to how we fill those bodies. So the first, sorry, I've skipped one point. There is a recommendation at 2.3, which is that the Constitution is amended to say that the Standards Subcommittee would not be subject to political balance, and that's for practical reasons that when a matter's being heard, obviously you don't know who the parties are and who's involved, so it may on occasion be necessary to have a subcommittee that doesn't represent the political balance of the council. I will just point out at this stage that for that to be approved, no member may vote against it. So it doesn't matter if someone abstains, but if any member votes against it, that will have to remain a politically balanced subcommittee. Moving on from that, the council has a next step which is required by law. As you'll know, there's a number of groups on this council. There's a number of members who are not part of any group. We have to carry out a calculation every year at the annual meeting, which determines the proportion of seats which will be allocated to each of those groups. That's a mathematical process. The numbers reach a result, and then we have to give effect to those numbers. So you'll see that that's on page 28, and it can be seen at paragraph 5.2.2. Now, I'd like to correct an error in that report, and that's the bottom of that paragraph, page 29. We've referred to the seats to non-aligned groups being 5. That's a typographical error. It should be a total of 8 seats for each of those columns. So just to point out that the numbers that we are working on in terms of the actual bodies themselves and the papers you've got before you otherwise are correct. It's just that was a typographical error. So, as I say, having applied and approved that political balance calculation, it's an obligation for the council to appoint in the right proportions to represent group membership. And the legislation also says that once you've done that, any remaining seats must go to those who are not in any group. So, we have also received nominations for the chairs and vice chairs of each committee. They're on a separate paper that's set out on your desk in front of you. You'll observe that in relation to both the committees and the chairs and vice chairs, there are a number of bodies and roles where there are more candidates than there are places available. So it's suggested in relation to this item that we take items 2 to 8 en bloc first, because that's a process we have to follow. And then when it comes to appointments to committees, we deal with first the uncontested matters, so where there's no discrepancy between the number of people nominated and the number of spaces available. And then we take each of the contested matters in turn, and the Mayor will be explaining more on the process that we'll follow for that. So I hope that helps in presenting the report for you, but I'm happy to accept any questions you may have.
Mr. Mayor, may I raise a point of order? It may be that I couldn't hear properly. I think the monitoring officer referenced and a change to the constitution that proposed the political balance for audit and scrutiny, audit and standards. Now, I didn't quite understand whether we were taking that change now with this document, or whether we're taking that change later with the item in the agenda on the constitution. It may be my hearing. I apologise if it is. Thank you.
Just for clarification, it's a recommendation in this paper. So because this paper deals with appointments to committees and political balance, it's considered the appropriate place to do it here, because, as I say, there has to be no votes against that decision. So it's got to be part of this process, because this is how we allocate seats to comply with the legal obligation.
Mr. Mayor, I would like the opportunity to be able to vote on that particular point quite clearly, and not en bloc, as it were, because I think it needs to be teased out a bit further, the implications of that particular recommendation.
Yes, thank you, Councillor. I was just discussing this with the officers here. I'm not entirely sure that, in fact, it is clear what the position is. I'm going to defer to Mr. Tobin again, just to clarify the points that appear on page 8.
Thank you. As I said, in relation to the body of the report, when we appoint each body every year, so each committee and subcommittee, they have to be, as a matter of law, they have to be politically balanced. The proposal here is that when we're appointing the standard subcommittee, we disapply that rule so that any membership may sit on that. And that means that if you have, for example, parties who are involved who are members of that committee, you don't put them on the body that's going to make a determination. So that's the reason why we're suggesting it's disapplied, so that we gives that flexibility to ensure that it's a body which has no connection to the issue and can sit on it impartially.
Can I thank the monitoring officer for that further explanation? What I missed was that it was the subcommittee we were referring to. We're not disapplying it on the main committee. So that I'm more reassured now. Thank you.
I mean, would it reassure you further if in fact 2.3 were voted on separately?
Yes, it would.
Thank you. Well, I'm quite content that we do that. Right, councillors, I think probably that's clear, but I'm going to read it out again. And if it isn't clear, I'm going to defer to the officers to assist the presentation so that we're clear that everybody does understand what they're voting on, which is always a good idea. So what we're going to do is the wording is going to be, I propose we consider recommendations 2.1 through to 2.3 on to 2.8 on block, excluding 2.3. For item 2.7, printed copies of nominations for membership to committee from group leaders are in front of you. And we'll return to recommendations 2.9 and 2.10 separately in any event. So that's what I'm going to suggest we do. If that isn't clear, then perhaps if anybody could indicate that now, otherwise I think that's how we proceed. Thank you. So I'm going to have to ask in the circumstances, do I have a proposer for recommendations 2.1 to 2.8, excluding 2.3?
Yes, happy to propose. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, councillor. And do we have a seconder?
Thank you.
Okay. Electronic voting. Yes. Right. Well, we'll now open that to debate. Yep. Say it again. Anybody who wishes to speak can raise their hand. No, even with the microphone. No. Okay. So we'll now proceed to vote on recommendations 2.1 to 2.8, excluding 2.3. It's electronic voting. Yep. That's unanimous. But now we'll have to have a vote on 2.3 following a debate, if we need one. So to confirm the outcome, it's 28 in favour.
Yeah, so 2.1. Mr. Mayor, if I may, so just to confirm, so 2.1 to 2.8, excluding 2.3, has now been approved. We'll now, as you say, return to 2.3, and we will need a proposer and seconder for 2.3 now, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. So do I have a proposer for 2.3? Thank you, councillor.
Happy to propose, Mr. Mayor. Thank you.
And a seconder. Thank you. And now, once again, with the microphone on, does anybody want to raise their hand because they wish to speak about that? No? No? Okay. We'll now proceed to vote on recommendation 2.3. Yes, I'm going to ask the monitoring officer to advise on the outcome, although he has alluded to the position as it is now, but I'll defer to him.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. As the legislation states that to disapply those rules, it is necessary for no member to vote against. That means because we've had one vote against, that the motion is defeated, it's blocked as a result. So that means that the any subcommittee established under the standards regime, regardless of conflicts of interest, etc., will have to be politically balanced, and we'll just have to deal with the issues on the day. Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Right. If we move forward then, in respect of item 2.9, appointment of non-aligned members to their allocation of seats on committees and working groups. Now, you should all have printed copies. So printed copies of their individual wishes have been provided to you all. Can I have a proposer for these wishes to be tabled? And we'll then work through any necessary votes as required.
Happy to propose, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. And do we have a seconder?
Yes, I'll second that, Mr. Mayor. Thank you.
The paper, Bob. So now what I'm going to propose is, I propose that for uncontested seats, council agrees to appoint en bloc. So we'll now vote to confirm the appointments listed on all the uncontested committees and working groups, which is all of them with the exception of the planning committee. So once again, it's electronic voting. Please use the electronic voting system in front of you and choose either for, against, or abstain.
Just point of clarification. It was just something a member told me just before that this may have changed. So I just want to know. This is the version. Yeah. This is the latest version. So just to clarify, could we just say on the working groups, it's Orner, Gordon, Lumley, Gordon, Orner.
I understand what you're saying. I mean, I'm just wondering if that we can make sure that's going to be verified for the purposes of the result of the meeting.
Mr. Mayor, I can confirm that we were advised of some updated nominations just prior to the meeting, and the document you have in front of them reflects the latest position we've been advised by non-aligned members in relation to their wishes.
Right. For the contested seats on planning committee, I propose we use a ballot to decide. So we're not using electronic voting. It is a ballot for this. So to do that, I have to ask, do I have two members who will support this approach?
Happy to propose and support that approach.
I'm happy to second that.
Thank you.
Yeah, it's fine. Yes.
Yes, thank you. So we'll now vote on appointments for non-aligned members to the planning committee, for which we have 2 seats and 3 candidates. A ballot paper will be handed out to each member by Democratic Services. After you have voted, the ballot paper will be collected by Democratic Services and handed to the Chief Executive and Monitoring Officer for counting. The 2 people with the highest number of votes will be confirmed for the 2 positions on the committee. Should there be a tie, I will provide further advice as required. Before proceeding to the vote, do any of the nominated candidates want to say a few words in support of their own nomination? And can I remind members that any member who wishes to speak, that they should confine any comments to their suitability for the role, rather than commenting on the attributes of those they're competing against. Yeah. So I'm going to ask the councillors who are candidates to speak in this order. So if I invite Councillor Allnut.
Mr. Mayor, I think most people have voted, so I will waive my right to speak. I think we're all known to colleagues and we're all able to make a judgment. Thank you.
Councillor Evans.
I agree. It's we've already had the ballot papers in front of us. I think it would be wrong for anybody to speak at this stage when people have already filled them in.
Councillor Gordon.
Yeah, I'm okay with this, just to go through with the ballot. Thank you.
Thank you. I'm just going to add that I'm going to say that I'm going to or propose that I oversee the counting of the ballot. If I'm going to do that, just to be clear and to be safe, I would ask that that is proposed and seconded.
Oppose it.
Thank you.
Happy to second that, Mayor. Thank you.
Thank you. All in favour? Yeah, thank you. Okay, is everybody ready for those to be collected? Yeah. Super. All right. Right. Thank you, councillors. Been through the votes, they've been checked quite carefully. The results are Councillor Allnut 13, Councillor Evans 14, Councillor Gordon 27, 2 abstentions. So that means that Councillor Evans and Councillor Gordon are elected. Right, next one, Tim.
Next one.
Right. For 210, election of chairs and vice chairs, we will follow a similar process. Printed copies of nominations for each position have been provided to each member. Are we happy that everybody has that? Yeah. So can I have a proposer for these nominations to be tabled, and we'll then work through any necessary votes as required. So proposer, thank you. And a seconder.
Yes, happy to second. Thank you.
Thank you. Now, as before, I propose that for uncontested nominations for chairs and vice chairs of committees, we vote en bloc. The uncontested nominations are for the following positions: Chair of the Employment Committee, Vice Chair of the Employment Committee, Chair of the Scrutiny Committee, Vice Chair of the Scrutiny Committee. Yeah. So please use the electronic voting system in front of you and choose either for, against, or abstain. Yeah. And the result is 26 for and 2 abstentions. So I can confirm the motion is carried. So moving on, all remaining chair and vice chair positions are contested, and therefore we will deal with this by a show of hands in favour of each nominated candidate for each of the positions to be filled. Before proceeding to the vote, do any of the nominated candidates want to say a few words in support of their own nomination? And once again, can I remind any member who wishes to speak that they should confine any comments to their suitability for the role rather than commenting on the attributes of those they're competing against? So we're going to start with the Chair of Audit and Standards Committee. We have a contest between Councillor Lee Higgins and Councillor Elaine Holmes. And I'd like to invite the candidates to say a few words, and I will begin by asking Councillor Higgins to address the council.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, Mayoress, Deputy Mayor and Consort. Councillors, I'm pleased to put myself forward once again for the role of Chair of Audit and Standards at Melton Borough Council. Since becoming Chair since 2023, I believe the committee has become stronger, more effective and more respected in the important role it plays within the governance of this authority. The recent assessment of good practice taken against the CIPFA framework demonstrated exceptionally strong results over those years, including this year, and the committee receiving the highest possible assessment for effectiveness and for meetings being well chaired with no further improvement for the 3rd year running. Working with a very able and good friend, Councillor Jim Mason, as the Vice Chair over that period, we've managed to get accounts externally audited for the first time in a number of years. It was a priority for Jim and I to get the new external auditor on board and providing us and this council that level of extra scrutiny, which was not there before we came to the helm. That matters because audit and standards is simply not just another committee. It is central to public confidence, governance, accountability, risk management, standards, and ensuring this council operates fairly and transparently. Over the past 2 years, I've worked closely with officers, and in particular, Clive Tobin and Dawn Garton, but with Clive to ensure that the standards processes are robust and fair. One of the areas where significant progress has been made is addressing the issue of repetitive and vexatious complaints against members. Those complaints have been more robustly identified, filtered, and dismissed where appropriately, and this has led to a significant reduction in repeated complaints from the same small number of individuals. That work has not been about protecting councillors from scrutiny. Its legitimate complaints must always be taken seriously. It is about protecting the integrity of the process itself. And that's what I've always stood for, ensuring fairness to all parties, safeguarding them for natural justice, and preventing standards procedures from being weaponised for any other reasons. It is also important to make sure respondents, as councillors, when a complaint comes in, that they are also heard in that process. At the same time, I've not shied away from holding this council to account where necessary. I believe good governance requires independence, fairness, consistency, and the confidence to ask difficult questions where appropriate. I was especially pleased that the Audit and Standards Committee held the officers and the Chief Executive to account over the car parking matter when that went wrong. Because my first duty is and always will be to our residents and our community. Given the progress made, the strengthening of governance processes and the improved operation of the committee, I firmly believe now is not the time to reverse or undermine that progress. If reappointed, and I have your confidence as the full council, I will continue to chair the committee in a fair and balanced, professional and non-political manner, ensuring that members, officers and the public alike can continue to have confidence in the integrity of the processes and the auditing of our accounts and procedures. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor. And could I then ask Councillor Holmes to address the council?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Believe it or not, I actually go along with Councillor Higgins on lots of matters. I have been chair of scrutiny before, as I was reminded by Mrs. Garton tonight. I haven't been to any of the scrutiny meetings in the last year, and do you know why? Because obviously I was not on the committee. Sorry, audit. Sorry about that. We both said scrutiny, you know, audit committee, because sometimes you want to say something and you can't. You read the minutes, you read everything, and you can't say. So, although I wasn't on it, I never did go because I read everything and would like to have been able to say something sometimes. Anyway, I think you know that I have run a business quite successfully, know what it's like, what audit is like, and I hope everybody has confidence in knowing that I will do a good job. Thank you.
Right. Thank you, Councillor. So we will now proceed to a vote, and the vote is going to be by a show of hands. So all those in favour of Councillor Lee Higgins? you. And all those in favour of Councillor Elaine Holmes? I've got 2 abstentions. And finally, any abstentions? Should I give the figures? Or just...
Yeah.
Yeah. Yes. And the result is there are 13 votes for Councillor Lee Higgins, 14 votes for Councillor Elaine Holmes, and 1 abstention. Therefore, Councillor Holmes is elected. If we move on to the Vice Chair of Audit and Standards Committee. For the Vice Chair of Audit and Standards, we have a contest between Councillor Jim Mason and Councillor Simon Orson. I'd like to invite the candidates to say a few words. We will begin with Councillor Mason and then move on to Councillor Simon Orson.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I've nothing to say in support of my application. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor. And Councillor Simon Orson.
Thank you very much. I'd like to put myself forward for the role of Vice Chairman of the Audit Committee at Melton Borough Council. I believe I can bring both practical business experience and strong analytical skills to the role. I run a farming business where careful budgeting, risk management and accountability are part of everyday decision making. I also hold a first-class degree in mathematics, which has given me the ability to analyse information critically and approach issues logically and objectively. The Audit Committee plays an important role in ensuring strong governance, transparency and financial oversight. I would approach this role professionally, ask constructive questions where needed and work collaboratively with members of officers and auditors. I believe my experience and approach would allow me to make a positive contribution as Vice Chairman. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor. We'll now proceed to a vote. All those in favour of Councillor Jim Mason? All those in favour of Councillor Simon Orson? And any abstentions? And the result is Councillor Mason 13, Simon Orson 14 and 1 abstention. So Councillor Simon Orson is therefore elected. So we move on to Chair of Licensing Committee. For the Chair of Licensing Committee, we have a contest between Councillor Ziggy Atherton and Councillor Pat Cumbers. I'd like to invite the candidates to say a few words. We will begin with Councillor Ziggy Atherton and then move on to Councillor Cumbers.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Well, actually, I thought I would finish giving speeches, but here I am. I'd like to put myself forward for the Chair of Licensing. I feel that the Chair of Licensing is an important role, leading the community responsible for regulating local businesses, venues and public safety. To engage the licensing trade by investing time with licensing businesses can help secure trade for the future. Working with local partners, sharing good practice and developing these relationships can assist with developing a shared approach as well as enforcing activities. There is a new Renters' Rights Act which will place more onus on landowners to comply with new regulation and for the council to better regulate HMOs. I will work with the officers, cabinet and colleagues on the committee to ensure that the new function is implemented robustly. I feel that raising the licensing profile and linking it to different strategies and agendas that within the council could benefit everyone. Chair and Vice Chair come with responsibility to ensure hearings are conducted properly and effective decisions are made. I believe that I have the right qualities to be Chair of Licensing, and I will work with everybody involved to ensure we operate a fair and effective committee to ensure a secure trade for the future. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor. We'll now move on to Councillor Cumbers.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I strongly believe that licensing is a very important council function which affects the lives of us all at the council, as well as residents and visitors. Licensing helps ensure that Melton is a safe place to live and to visit, and the committee is responsible for more than 20 types of licence. At our last meeting, we approved a new taxi policy, as must happen every 5 years. But many taxi drivers were not happy with that new taxi policy. So since that then, the Vice Chair and I worked very hard with officers to ensure that the amendments were made to ensure that we have a taxi policy which suits the council as licensing authority, as well as treating taxi drivers fairly and with respect. That's just one little example of what licensing is about. And we need to think hard as well as to what new licensing policies, licenses we need for the future. I hope you will vote for me as chair, as well as Councillor Butcher as vice chair. Sharon and I have worked so well together over the last few years, and I'm sure we will work well together to ensure that licensing does a good job in the future. Thank you.
Okay, well, we'll now proceed to a vote. All those in favour of Councillor Siggy Atherton?
Keep your hands held high, please, members. Thank you. One.
Okay. And all those in favour of Councillor Pat Cumbers? And abstentions? Yes, thank you, councillors. The position is that we have a tie between Councillor Ziggy Atherton and Councillor Pat Combers. 13 votes each with one. Two abstentions. Two abstentions, I was going to say. That's gone. Two abstentions. Now, what I'm minded to do is this, and well, what I am going to do is this. I'm going to adjourn the meeting for 10 minutes to see if any councillor wants to consider their position, and in 10 minutes we'll take the vote again. Thank you. Yeah, members, forgive me. I don't know if everybody's ready to move forward or if we need to have some more time. Okay, if everybody could take their seats again, thank you.
Mr. Mayor, I wish to raise a point of order. As I understand it, the Constitution allows for situations where there is a tie vote and gives you the authority to move straight to a casting vote. Now, I'm not saying you shouldn't have adjourned, but I don't think we need to re-ballot, or I don't think we could. I think that the existing ballot has to be resolved.
Yep. Well, thank you, Councillor, for the input. The reason, and we'll deal with that point, sure. But of course, we don't have Mr. Tobin with us at the moment. So I think we need to locate him before we go any further.
Does he vote?
No, he doesn't. But of course, he could probably comment on the point that you've raised. Yes, I'm going to call for another ballot. Yeah, another election now. I'm told that I'm entitled to do that, and that's what I've decided to do. I'm grateful for your input as ever. But there we are. So, we have a contest between Councillor Ziggy Atherton and Councillor Pat Cumbers. If we move forward to the vote again, all those in favour of Councillor Ziggy Atherton? And all those in favour of Councillor Pat Cumbers? An abstention. And one abstention. So the result of that ballot is 13 votes for Councillor Atherton, 14 votes for Councillor Cumbers, and one abstention. So in those circumstances, it's Councillor Cumbers is elected, and she's elected as chair of the licensing committee for the municipal year 26-27. Right, moving on. Vice chair of the licensing committee. For the vice chair of the licensing committee, we have a contest between Councillor Sharon Butcher and Councillor Marilyn Gordon. So I'd like to invite the candidates to say a few words. We'll begin with Councillor Butcher and then move on to Councillor Gordon.
Thank you. I believe I can bring valuable experience and practical understanding to the role. I have been worked for 18 years in hospitality. During this time, I've developed a strong knowledge of licensing matters, including the sale and supply of alcohol, the responsibilities placed upon licensed premises, and the importance of maintaining a safe and well-managed environment for residents and visitors alike. I also understand the wider importance of the evening and hospitality economy in Melton, including the need for a reliable and thriving taxi service to support businesses, residents and public safety. I've also had over 40 years experience in taxiing. If appointed, I would approach the role with a fair, balanced and professional manner, working constructively with colleagues, officers, businesses and the wider community. I've also previously worked well with Councillor Cumbers, as she has mentioned. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Butcher. If we move on to Councillor Gordon.
Sorry?
Microphone's not on.
Oh, it is.
Is it? Oh, right.
Oh, has it gone off and come on? All right, here we go again. Right. As a councillor who has been on this committee before, I have the knowledge, experience and interest to contribute positively to the functioning of a well-run licensing service. I believe that every aspect of the licensing committee is of the utmost importance that aims to ensure that businesses, licensed premises and landlords operate in a safe and legal way. Also, with the new Renters' Rights Act coming into place, it will be even more important that the council has a well-led and managed licensing service. There are many aspects to the licensing committee, especially help and support for anyone affected by gambling and alcohol addictions, which are important issues that must be addressed urgently as soon as it becomes apparent that someone needs help in this area. And another aspect is the wheelchair accessible taxis. This is an enormous help to the disabled, which allows ease of travel. Concerning the other aspects of this committee, they give welcome assurances for the public that there are thorough regulations to be adhered to prior to licenses being issued. Further to this, I will work closely with the chair of this committee, with officers and all councillors in a productive way and bring this quality to the role. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor. So we'll now proceed to a vote. So all those in favour of Councillor Sharon Butcher. All those in favour of Councillor Marilyn Gordon. And any abstentions? So the result is Sharon Butcher 13, Marilyn Gordon 14 and 1 abstention. So in the circumstances, Marilyn Gordon is elected. So that isn't necessary. Forgive me, it isn't necessary. Forgive me, we're just bringing up the notes to date so we don't duplicate something. See with that. Thank you. Okay. Right, for the chair of planning, we have a contest between Councillor Chris Evans and Councillor Alan Thwaites. I'd like to invite the candidates to say a few words. We'll begin with Councillor Evans.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, and congratulations. I always say that as my tradition of all the times when a new mayor comes and my first words are congratulations on being elected. Obviously, I have a large amount of direct knowledge of the experience of both borough and parish councils at different levels, from all the way through to county level. Originally, I became a borough councillor for Keyworth in 1985. And that stayed in that role for 16 years while I was leader of the opposition. During that time, I sat on the planning committee for Rushcliffe and dealt with initiating and making the local plan. I also dealt with several large and contentious applications and decisions that drew media attention. Some of you will know it, Sharp Hill Wood in West Bridgeford was one of the ones where it was overturned and had to go to appeal. Newton, which was unfortunately a situation where an asylum centre was decided to suggested that it should be at Newton. We opposed it and we won. I had to have a police escort for that one, and also traveller sites. I've dealt with sensitive planning matters involving vulnerable people, asylum seekers, children, and also special needs, as you know. I've been Borough Councillor in Leicestershire, Nottinghamshire, and Norfolk. That's a hell of a stretch, but it gave me a huge wide view of planning and how it varies between establishments, and it does. I'm well versed in the process and practice therefore associated with planning control, including legal obligations that must be upheld by this council. We all know that planning at borough level is not easy, and it's difficult to recruit and retain staff. We know that's a big issue, but I can assure this council, if I'm nominated as chair, I will work tirelessly with the officers to provide a planning service that is admired by everybody around us. Chair of planning would be a privilege and an honour. It allows you to guide a committee with officers' help to make important decisions affecting both individual and the local community. I would assure you that all the planning decisions will be made fairly, transparently, and in strict compliance with the local and national planning policies. Thank you, Chair.
And thank you, Councillor. Councillor Thwaites.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, and I'd also like to add my congratulations on your election and best wishes for a successful year ahead. I'd also like to thank the leader for his invite to work collaboratively. I can say it. Mr. Mayor, as you will appreciate, the role of chairing a meeting such as this or one of our committees is to maintain focus, to ensure proper debate and balance firmness with fairness, and to put aside personal allegiances in pursuit of sound, lawful decision-making in the case of planning. The role of chair of planning is not to be the loudest voice in the room. It is not to be the expert on every policy, every highways issue, every drainage report, or every paragraph of the local plan. The role is to draw upon the expertise around you. The chair is the conductor, not the percussionist, consistently banging their own drum. When I was first elected 3 years ago, I was certainly not a planning expert, but the strength of any committee is that each member brings different experience, judgment, and perspective. And together we use that for the benefit of the community. Ably assisted by my colleague, Councillor Mason, as Vice Chair, who brought legal expertise, construction knowledge, and experience of leading major projects, along with my own background of operational process and people development within large IT organisations, and expertise such as Councillor Marilyn Gordon's, consistently bringing the voice of residents and environmental concerns to the table, and the list goes on. That collective experience matters, and the role of chair is to bring forward the very best of that wealth of knowledge and experience. Over the last 3 years, while I've been chair of planning, this committee has faced some of the most difficult planning pressures the borough has seen: solar farms, clustering of children's homes, and the constant balance between growth and protecting communities. Those pressures are not reducing, they are increasing. And in that 3-year process, I hope I've proven my ability to deliver. Our responsibility as a planning committee is not simply to say yes or no. It is to listen, to challenge, to weigh competing interests fairly, consistently, and lawfully, and ultimately to achieve the best fact-based outcomes we can for the community we serve, with decisions that will withstand appeals when necessary. When I first took on this role, we inherited a planning department that was widely criticised. Was it perfect? No. Is it better? Absolutely. Is there more to do? Without question. I am proud of what we have collectively achieved so far, and that work must continue through the opportunities and challenges that local government reorganisation will bring. Should Councillor Evans be successful tonight, I genuinely wish him well. because the challenges ahead are significant, demanding and important for the people of this borough. This is not an easy role and not always a popular role. In my opinion, to do it properly requires time, resilience, dedication, and the willingness to make difficult decisions publicly, fairly, and legally, sometimes under considerable pressure. My willingness to challenge where necessary has never depended on who controls the administration. My primary allegiance has always been and will remain to my ward and to the people of the Borough of Melton. To deliver the most robust decisions we can. Tonight, I ask for the opportunity to continue offering my hard-earned experience, my time, and my commitment as Chair of Planning for the people of this borough. I thank you for your time.
Okay, we'll now proceed to the vote. All those in favour of Councillor Chris Evans? And all those in favour of Councillor Alan Thwaites? One abstention. Abstention. No, just check them out. Yeah, Chris Evans. Okay. Okay. The result of the vote is Chris Evans 14, Alan Thwaites 13, and one abstention. So in the circumstances, Chris Evans is elected. Okay. So we move on to Vice Chair of Planning Committee. For the Vice Chair of Planning Committee, we have a contest between Councillor Jim Mason and Councillor Tim Webster. I'd like to invite the candidates to say a few words. We will begin with Councillor Mason and then move on to Councillor Webster. So, Councillor Mason.
Thank you, Mayor. Yes, I just want to say I'd like to offer in my support 3 pertinent strengths. I believe I've got 3 pertinent strengths to offer. Continuity in the role provided by the 3 years as Vice Chair prior to this meeting. The related building construction qualifications that I hold. And brevity. Thank you very much.
Councillor Webster.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'd like to take this opportunity to put myself forward for the position of Vice Chair of Planning, this important role. I'll be excited to take on this role if elected and work well and hard with our new elected Chair, Councillor Chris Evans, and work well with all the rest of the planning councillors and all the planning department here at the Melton Borough Council. Thank you.
We'll now proceed to the vote. All those in favour of Councillor Jim Mason? All those in favour of Councillor Tim Webster? And any abstentions? And the result is Councillor Jim Mason 13 votes, Councillor Tim Webster 14 votes, 1 abstention. So Councillor Tim Webster is therefore elected as Vice Chair of Planning Committee. We then move on to recommendations that the council. You've dealt with that one. I'm sorry, it's duplicate there. Yes, we are there. Thank you. Right, item 9. Annual refresh, update and confirmation of the changes to the Constitution. I'll now invite the monitoring officer to present the annual refresh, update and confirmation of the changes to the Constitution report. Monitoring officer will present the report.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. As members will be aware, it is a regular item of business at annual council to review the constitution and update the scheme of delegation for officers. It's not a statutory obligation to do so, but it's a convenient time for us to take stock and ensure that we've maintained or that the constitution remains up to date and consistent for our use, for our needs. In this report, there are a number of recommendations. Some of them are quite minor and relate to only aligning particular parts of the Constitution. The first of those involves the financial procedure rules and is simply to ensure that delegations in relation to capital projects which are moved forward from year to year also have with them the relevant requirement to move the associated budget to them. So it's a fairly straightforward change, but it's just to make sure that officers don't have to go through two separate processes in relation to projects which are delayed or span more than one municipal year. There is a similar associated recommendation in relation to the Cabinet scheme and delegation, although that's not for the council to make today. It's just to highlight again the need for consistency in the rules that apply for Cabinet. And so whilst not noted here, so whilst not here for a decision tonight, it is noted for the benefit of the Cabinet leader. The third area to be covered is in relation to the order of business for ordinary meetings. The council has consistently followed a set order of business at its ordinary meetings for a number of years. However, it seems that due to an error some years ago, the provision relating to that was removed from the Constitution. This is simply reinstating that to ensure that we have a clear constitutional provision which just matches the practice that we've followed. So nothing really in terms of changes to anything that we do, but just ensuring that the Constitution reflects what we do and what we have done for a number of years. The next change is in relation to a right to respond for any member who is mentioned during leaders' announcements. This was a matter considered in some detail by the Constitutional Review Working Group, and I think it was 3 separate meetings where they discussed the potential changes to this. Put very simply, the proposal is that if the leader is to mention a member during their announcements, then that member has a right of reply in relation to that comment. That right is only about what was said regarding that particular member. It's not a right to respond generally to the other items in the leader's announcements. That member has that right. They can't pass it on to any other member to respond on their behalf. And it's finally suggested that if a member is named but they're not present at the meeting, then that member can present a response to the mayor to read out at the next convenient meeting, so that they have at least the opportunity to place that response. The next item is in relation to portfolio holder liaison groups. Now, members will be aware of this. An item was considered last year at a council meeting, I believe in March, regarding the establishment of portfolio holder liaison groups. 2 groups were established, one in relation to housing and communities, and the other in relation to place. The broad terms of reference were agreed at that meeting. However, rather than ask for a decision tonight, on that. It's just to note that those have now been transposed into the Constitution. They appear at Appendix B of the report and basically formalise the process that was agreed by members last year. Then the further change that has been made is in relation to contract procedure rules, and that's more for members' information. A number of updates have been brought into legislation relating to procurement through Procurement Act 2023, much of which came in last year, and this is to just draw some members' attention that we're keeping on top of those things and that we have carried out the necessary amendments. Some further amendments are proposed in relation to certain tax changes which we have to take account of, and they'll be presented in due course. As those were requirements that were required by law, there wasn't a decision to be made as such, but it's just to show that we, as I say, that we're compliant. And then
so that's the result is 25 for and 3 abstentions. So the motion is carried. If you just give me a moment, I think we have to mention the time now. Yeah. Yeah. We've been keeping an eye on the time. I think we need to apply for an exemption to standing orders, but we'll need to have a vote on that. So if somebody could propose, thank you.
Yeah, I'll propose we extend time, please.
Yeah. Second. Yeah. Second. Thank you. Vote, and we have a vote by a show of hands. Vote by show of hands, it's easier. Yeah. Any against? Yeah, I'll abstain. I think 34. 34. Yeah.
For extension, abstention, check. Second of check, abstention.
Abstentions.
Yeah. Hold your hands up high, please, members.
Everybody accounted for. Do you want to do it again? Because I think we have to be precise. I voted for.
Yeah, so they're at 20.
Yeah.
Just check. If you want to get check.
We do keep an eye on the figures, and they don't add up this time. So let's try again. And anybody who abstained?
If you're abstaining. There was 1 20, 22. One definitely, only one against.
So
22 for, 1 against, 5 abstentions.
That works, doesn't it?
Yeah, 28.
Yes, okay. Well, that motion is carried, so the council meeting will continue. Now we're on 10, I think, aren't we?
We are.
Right. Gosh, how time flies when you're enjoying yourself. Here we go. Right, number 10, program of meetings for 2026-27. I will now invite the monitoring officer to present the program of meetings.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Again,
I'd like that we take it as read. Do I have a seconder?
So I'll second that. Yeah, just.
Allow them on trust.
Yeah, I understand exactly what you're saying. I can see why you say it, but I think the monitoring officer will need to present something. Yeah.
Point of order, I've moved a motion from the floor, which I'm entitled to do, and it's been seconded. The motion to take it as read should be put to the chamber, in my view.
I understand. Thank you very much for your input, but I do think, just as a technicality, I'm not sure we can do that. So I'm going to defer to Clive Tobin.
There's no debates being commenced, so there's no question to be put. So you need to at least wait till the question's being put before you can decide whether it should be answered.
I don't want it to be moved to be put because I've got something to say on it. I wish to speak to it. I think it needs to be spoken about. So I withdraw my proposal.
Okay, I've listened to various inputs from various people. I'm very grateful to everybody. But I do think the monitoring officer has actually got to present something before we can move on and consider the representation you wish to make. That's my assessment of it. And as I'm chairing the meeting, I think that's what we're going to have to do. Okay. So if you could, I'd present the report. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. As I started to say, members will be familiar with the fact that every year we set the calendar of meetings. And the reason we have to do that is that by law, if we didn't do so, this would be the only meeting we have every year, and we wouldn't see one another for 12 months. The calendar of meetings before you has been updated very slightly due to information we received today regarding a need to move a licensing committee in September by 5 days. That's the only change to the original documents. As indicated, if we need to set these dates, we have a set of principles which we apply in determining the cycle of committees, etc. There's not a lot more to say other than there are, of course, provisions in relation to emergency meetings, which I'm sure we're familiar. Those would still be able to be invoked if necessary during the year. But the meetings that we believe are required for the year has been drafted, taking into account of the ordinary principles. I'm happy to take any questions on the issues.
I think what I should do, in fairness, is the monitoring officer's offered to take questions. I don't know if it would be appropriate to have questions before we have a proposer or seconder, but I don't know what the basis of Councillor Allnott's input is going to be.
I would suggest, Mr. Mayor, if you take proposer and seconder, motion is then tabled, and then you can open to debate, and members can make their contributions.
I'm advised, and it's my decision on the basis of that advice that I'm going to ask for a proposer and a seconder.
Yes, Mr. Mayor, happy to propose that motion.
Happy to second it, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. So we're now going to open the item to debate and invite members to indicate whether they wish to speak. And I'm going to take it that, in fact, Councillor Allnott, you want to speak. The floor is yours.
Yeah, I'd like to thank the monitoring officer for his report. Very succinct, and obviously it goes without saying we've got to approve a diary. I rise to express my concern. It's been a month since the new administration took over, and inevitably there's a bit of a hiatus while they bang round with their new broom, accepting that the leader of the council very generously thanked the outgoing team for all their hard work, and in fact rehearsed all of the hard work that we actually achieved, and we'll hear more about that as we move on. But as with the Constitution, we are facing a huge upheaval, and it concerns me that while we will be receiving a decision from the government on the shape of LGR, and in the autumn, very quickly, as orders are laid, this council, in keeping with all the other councils, will be severely restricted in what we can actually do by way of new policy or changing existing policy. So time is of the essence. We don't have a lot of time. And what concerns me is that there doesn't seem to be much time for Cabinet or Council. We've got 2 meetings and then we lapse into August. Now, I know August is a holiday month, but it ought not to prevent us with a lot of cooperation and working across parties, which I do welcome and which I did suggest 2.5 months ago would be the case if I continued in my post. I think we should be doing more during August than this diary indicates, because I think we're going to be stuck in a bit of a rut, and it's no good just having briefings. You've got to have meetings at which the public can hear what's going on, because it's the public that are mostly affected. So I'm not moving any amendment to this diary, but I'm asking for some consideration to be given to this. Thank you.
Right, now, is there anybody else who wishes to make a contribution before Councillor Brown has the final say on the matter as he proposed it? Thank you, Councillor Glancy.
Yes, my assumption is, because I don't know what's going on, but that August is perhaps an ideal time to be looking at the local government reorganisation. Is that why we've left it blank? Because we're going to be hearing in July which avenue we're going to take. So my assumption is that August will be used mostly entirely for the local government organisation, getting ourselves in order. Am I correct?
I think the monitoring officer needs to contribute on that point.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Just to point out that the Cabinet Procedure Rules do grant the Chief Executive as proper officer in consultation with the leader to call additional meetings of Cabinet. So obviously that's something that can be done in any event for any reason, and obviously we'll have to respond to what the government do in relation to LGR. So it was premature to fit things in today in the hope that we've got it right, and that's the reason for officers not adding anything further to that proposal.
Right, now, does any other member wish to comment on that before Councillor Brown's final comments? No. Councillor Brown?
Yeah, okay, yeah, I think you've probably answered your own you've probably given an answer in your own questions. Basically, I've been liaising with the officers. We know in July we're going to get a decision from government. If that decision is coming, you will be all contacted group leaders and underlying members in the coming weeks about setting up a cross-party working group that sets us and gets us in gear for when that decision's made. We don't know what the decision is. We know we have a government that's in a bit of turmoil, so it could even be paused. It could be one of three or four options, etc. So what we're going to do is it'll all be set in the background. All of the leaders will be consulted about availability, etc., and who you want to represent you in those groups. So I think you may find if we are given the green light, we'll all be very busy in August.
Yes.
Thank the leader of the council for his comments, but can I please ask him, it's not just leaders, it's all members, and it's the public should see what's going on, particularly as you mentioned parishes a month ago. I think this is absolutely vital. There's so much going on and there's so many misconceptions, and we've got to really work hard on this.
Councillor, sorry, I don't want to interject when people are speaking, because I know that people want to put their points across. But the points have been made by everybody. Councillor Brown has made his final comments, and we really need to move to the vote. You don't have anything else to say, do you, sir? No.
No, well, sorry, if it's okay through you, Mr. Mayor, I will say one thing, is that as part of the whole local government reorganisation, it's not just the leading groups, it's also the underlying members that will be invited into the process as well. And the other thing is, when we know what's required of us in July, we will have to come back with an investment package of further resources to be able to do that, which will mean that we will be involved in parish councils. So everything I said in my leader's speech at the extraordinary meeting, that will be honoured and that will be pulled through. But it'd be remiss of us to come in here today and say we're going to do X, Y, and Z when we don't know what the government is going to ask of us. So have our reassurances, it's going to happen. And I know I've had the conversation with Councillor Brown and the Labour group over there, and you will be involved as much as or little as you want, and so will the public.
Thank you, Councillor. We'll now proceed to the vote. Remember that you're voting on the revised programme of meetings labelled as version 2. So please use the electronic voting system. For, against, or abstain. That's 26 for, 2 abstentions, carried. Okay. So I'll now invite the monitoring officer to present the appointment of outside bodies report.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Members will also be familiar with the fact that each year annual council, we make a number of appointments to external bodies. Those external bodies represent.
Sorry, I'm so sorry. It can be difficult to hear what people are saying at the best of times. So if you could refrain from speaking when you're receiving the report, that'd be great. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. As members will be aware, at annual council, we also appoint representatives to a number of outside bodies. Those are bodies which reflect both cabinet and council functions. This year we have nominations from the groups and from non-aligned members in relation to the various bodies on which council appoints members. Those should be, an updated set of those should be on your desk in front of you now. I'm just trying to find my own. As was the case earlier in relation to appointments for committees and chairs, there are several bodies to which there are more candidates than there are spaces available. So again, suggested that in relation to those, in relation to these appointments, that matters are considered in 2 parts. One is for those which are not contested and one for those which are contested. And the Mayor will talk you through the process to be followed in relation to each of those. There's I think very little to say about the bodies themselves because these are all long-standing arrangements where the council has a historic connection. I am, however, happy to answer any questions that individuals may have.
For the appointments to outside bodies, we'll follow a similar process to earlier appointments. Printed copies of nominations for each position have been provided to each member. So can I have a proposer for these nominations to be tabled, and we'll then work through any necessary votes as required.
Yes, Mr. Mayor, happy to propose. Thank you.
Do I have a seconder?
Motion.
Yes, happy
Thank
to
you.
second. I think we've sort of taken up the word of the leader at the EGM when he mentioned that we're working collaboratively, which is why there's many people here that are actually very, very keen to be on these outside bodies. Thank you.
Thank you. Now, as before, I propose that for the uncontested nominations, we vote en bloc. The uncontested nominations are all shown on the document in front of you, other than those highlighted yellow, specifically the BID board and police and crime panel representatives. So we will now proceed to the vote on the uncontested nominations. Please use the electronic voting system in front of you and choose either for, against, or abstain. There are 27 votes for, 1 abstention, and I can confirm the motion is carried. Now, for all contested nominations, we will again deal with this by show of hands. So, Melton Business Improvement District, we will. Hold on. Sorry, forgive me. Could you not hear? Yeah. So Melton Business Improvement District, we will first resolve the position in relation to the Melton Business Improvement District. I propose to use a ballot to decide. And do I have 2 members who will support this approach? And those, yeah. Thank you. That's, yeah. Thank you. So we will now vote on appointments to the BID for which we have 2 seats and 3 candidates. A ballot paper will be handed out to each member by Democratic Services. After you've voted, the ballot paper will be collected by Democratic Services and handed to the Chief Executive and the Monitor Officer for counting. The 2 people with the highest number of votes will be confirmed to the 2 positions on the committee. Should there be a tie, I will provide further advice as required. Do you want me to supervise that? Yeah. So before proceeding to the vote, do any of the nominated candidates want to say a few words in support of their own nomination? Can I remind any members who wish to speak that they should confine any comments to their suitability for the role rather than commenting on the attributes of those they are competing against? Yeah, and as before, I'll supervise that. Yes. Yes. Okay. Forgive me, Councillor Allnard. Do you wish to say something, or are you simply holding your ballot paper up? Okay. Right. So I'm going to invite the councillors to say something if they wish. Councillor Butcher. Sharon. Councillor Butcher.
Thank you. I've been on the bid board for over 8 years, and I've always attended regular and supported them in everything that they've brought forward. So that's why I'd like to remain on the bid board.
Councillor Cliff.
Bit strange doing it from up here. My interest in the bid is really been developing over the past year, that I've been working very closely with them on issues of accessibility and looking at how we can strengthen their use of what's called the Purple Pound. And I'm really passionate about having someone like myself with a disability interacting with the bid, so that we can look at representing all members of our community in this very important work of how the economy can support the regeneration of the town, and how the council can also support businesses as well to access markets like the Purple Pound. So that's my interest in the bid. But I think we've got 3 strong candidates, and wish you luck in your votes. Thank you.
You. And then that's Councillor Pritchard.
Thank you very much, Mr. Mayor. There's one nomination for just myself here from the Conservatives. As I understand it, from what I've seen, is possibly a bid member and a bid observer. The bid, this is a quirk of the Constitution, attendance at the bid follows on from the growth and regeneration work for myself and the officers working with the town estate, the stockyard, the bid management, and it's necessarily a cabinet appointment that relates to the policy, and very much there will be no authority given if elected unless it falls within the cabinet authority scheme. And I do believe the monitoring officer may well be looking at a change to the constitution in future. So it was my intention that I would attend the bid, and the observer would be the director, who's previously not been, or the assistant director that works closely with, as I say, the bid manager and all the other partners. Thank you. But just like before, people have filled the voting slip in, so there you are.
Councillor Glancy.
Yes, I noticed that Councillor Childs left the room, so will he be able to vote because he hasn't heard the addresses by the two or three? Whether he's already voted or not, he hasn't actually heard. So therefore, he's not making an informed decision. Thank you.
Yes, thank you, Councillor. I'll just defer to the monitoring officer on that one and see what his input is going to be.
As was an observation was made earlier by a candidate in relation to one of the other positions, which I can't remember. Well, sorry, two observations. One was that people had already filled in their ballot paper in any event, and the second was that you all know one another and know the strengths and weaknesses, etc. This was not a detailed debate going into minute detail, where missing one of those details is likely to put a member at a disadvantage in being able to evaluate them. I don't consider that an absence from the room for a few moments during those speeches is likely to lead to an ill-informed decision being made.
Well, so be it then. The ballot papers have to be collected now, and I'll supervise the counting. I pass it along. There you go.
Thank you.
Okay, we've got a result. Here we go. The votes are as follows. Councillor Butcher 15, Councillor Cliff 11, Councillor Pritchett 14, and a total of 16 abstentions. So the two councillors with the most votes are Councillor Butcher and Councillor Pritchett. So they are elected. Okay. Thank you. Now it's where are we now? It is that one. Now time is 9:45. Fine. Yeah. Okay. Okay. We're moving on to the police and crime panel. So finally, we will seek to confirm the council's representative on the police and crime panel. For this appointment, we have a contest between Councillor Sharon Butcher and Councillor Joe Orson. I'd like to invite the candidates to say a few words, beginning with Councillor Butcher.
Thank you. I've been on the crime panel for the last year, where we had to veto the crime commissioner to push him into a corner. So I've attended all the meetings, and we asked some valuable questions, and supported the chief constable, which he personally thanked us for. So that's why I'd like to continue.
And Councillor Orson, Joe Orson.
Here we go. It's on now, is it? Well, thank you, Mr. Mayor, and my congratulations on your appointment. And I wish both you and the Mayoress every success over the coming civic year. Colleagues, as a candidate to represent Melton Borough Council on the Leicester, Leicestershire and Rutland Police and Crime Panel, I want to set out briefly and plainly the experience I would bring to the role. I've experienced 14 local government elections, with one being uncontested in 2015. I served as the County Council's Cabinet Support Member for Community Safety for 4 years, becoming lead and Cabinet Member on Leicestershire County Council for around 7 years. I chaired the Leicestershire Safer Community Strategy Boards for around 7 years. I secured the resources to establish the Leicestershire Domestic Abuse Strategy Board and chaired that for around 6 years. I served for 3 years on the Leicester, Leicestershire and Rutland Police Authority, during which I played a part, Ed will remember this, in the Pilkington Inquiry, and an inquiry that forced significant national changes in how policing responded to antisocial behaviour and share their information with local authorities. Importantly, tonight, I then chaired the Leicester, Leicestershire and Rutland Police and Crime Panel for 9 years, and to the best of my knowledge, remain one of, and possibly the longest serving police and crime panel chair in the whole country. Taken together, my record in community safety is clear, substantial and tested. If elected, I will bring not only that experience, but a direct mandate to take a decision on behalf of Melton Borough Council as the serving Cabinet Member. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Councillor. Now, and Councillor Allnut had to go out for a moment there. We discussed the situation before where that happens. I would proceed to move to the vote. I don't know if Councillor Allnut wants to hear anything further from Councillor Orson before we do so.
Perhaps he could repeat it. Would it be a good idea? I don't mind. If he can remember what he's saying. No.
Got it on his phone.
No.
Right. Well, I'm going to proceed to the vote. Thank you. Okay. Right. So we're going to proceed to the vote. All those in favour of Councillor Sharon Butcher? Yeah. And all those in favour of Councillor Joe Orson? And any abstentions? So the results are Sharon Busher 13, Joe Orson 14, abstention 1. Councillor Orson is therefore elected as the council's representative on the Police and Crime Panel. That's gone. So we're moving on to item 12, Climate Change Working Group. I will now invite the Monitoring Officer to present the Climate Change Working Group report.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Members will be pleased to know this is the final item on tonight's agenda. This arguably could have been encapsulated in the report on the constitutional changes. However, I thought it was appropriate to highlight the process that's led to the need for this change. It's fairly complex, but I think I should be able to deal with it in approximately 30 minutes or so. A bit more serious, the need for this is simply because in March, Cabinet considered the Council's new duties in relation to biodiversity. We now have a statutory obligation to have a biodiversity duty action plan, which cuts across all the functions that the Council has. That has been approved, but part of the approval process for that was to ensure that we had adequate member oversight. It's therefore proposed that the existing climate change working group is extended in both its name and its remit, so that it covers all the council's functions in relation to both climate change and biodiversity. And the rationale behind it is to give it a very broad remit, so that if there's any further changes to legislation, we don't have to keep coming back to members. Again, I'm happy to answer any questions that members may have on the issue.
Yes, Mr. Mayor, happy to propose. Thank you.
And a seconder?
Second the motion. Thank you.
Thank you. So I'll now open this item to debate and invite members to raise their hand to indicate whether they wish to speak. Nobody? Okay. Okay, well, if can I confirm no other member wishes to speak? So we'll now proceed to the vote. Please use the electronic voting system in front of you. Choose either for, against, or abstain. Who's left? Well, I think we're going to have to put about Councillor Cox to wait. Councillor Allnut, forgive me, I don't know if you've. No, you had problems with it earlier. I know.
It's gone to two abstentions.
Right, 25 for, 2 abstentions, so the motion is carried. What? Okay. Right, according to the paperwork that I've been through, we don't have anything else to deal with this evening. There's no further business. So I will just briefly, before I close it, say thank you very much to everybody. It's been a long meeting. Everybody's obviously made a significant effort to get it through. And I'm very grateful to you all. Thank you. With no further business, I declare the meeting closed.
Members, ladies and gentlemen, please be upstanding for the Mayor of the Borough of Melton, Councillor Jim Adcock.